On my Facebook page is a video that asks, did you know that the top 10 in-demand jobs in 2010 did not exist in 2004? We are currently preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist, using technologies that haven't been invented in order to solve problems we don't even know are problems yet. The amount of technical information is doubling every 2 years. For students starting a 4-year technical degree, that means half of what they learn in the first year of study will be outdated by the 3rd year of study. In such a world, what does it mean to prepare for anything? How can you prepare when the week's newspapers you put out for recycling contain more information than a person living in the 18th century would encounter during their entire life? When I was 8, my teacher, who was approaching retirement age, stunned us one day when she shared that when she was our age, she rode to school in a horse and buggy. We could not wrap our minds around a world without cars, or how old she must really be. Now that I'm about her age, Alex, my 8-year-old grandson, would be equally stunned that when I went to seminary only half my lifetime ago, I used a quaint device called a typewriter to write papers, and went to a place called a library to research them. I know, you're wondering, how old am I really? Beyond things like preparing a meal or preparing to go to bed, being prepared for what's coming in life is nearly impossible and only gets more so. If we are not careful, we could spend all our time preparing for life instead of living it. Yet on the second Sunday of Advent, every year, God tells John the Baptist in the wilderness, it is time to prepare a way for the Lord. Granted, Luke didn't live in the digital age, so preparation may have been a little easier when folk didn't have an inbox full of email to answer. But for the sake of argument, even today, he might have written this because some things never change, especially power and those who wield it. Luke seems to be suggesting that there are political implications to preparing the way of the Lord. Look at his introduction to John. In the 15th year of the reign of Emperor Tiberius, when Pontius Pilate was governor of Judea, and Herod was ruler of Galilee, and his brother Philip, ruler of the region of Iturea and Trachonitis, and Lysanias, ruler of Abilene, during the high priesthood of Annas and Caiaphas, the word of God came to John, son of Zechariah, in the wilderness. He could have just said, on the 10th of December in the year 30, the word of God came to John. Why did he use so many words? Why did he say so much more? Well, let me change the names and let's see if it gives you a feel for how it might have sounded at the time. In the second year of the prime ministership of John Key, when Barack Obama was president of the US, and Gordon Brown was prime minister of the United Kingdom, and John Banks was mayor of Auckland, during the pontificate of Benedict XVI, and while John Patterson was Bishop of Auckland, the word of God came to Bertie Boggs in the bush, and she went everywhere announcing that it was time for people to wake up to themselves, turn things around, and get back on track. Changing the names evokes real-life associations for us. We see that locating John's message in the midst of its making a direct challenge to the status quo maintained by those in power. All these folk together think they are in control of every square inch of the world. They seek to make sure it is their word we listen to. Luke challenges this notion. Luke is suggesting that established political and religious powers are not going to come up with a strategy for preparing a way for the new life Jesus represents. They may be able to build a bike path from Cape Ranga to Invercargill, but no matter how many hills they can level or valleys they can fill doing it, they are not going to prepare a way for us to live as fully as we were created to live. No, according to Luke, God didn't speak to the political and religious powers of the day to announce something radically new. God knows that's the last place to announce something like that. They would just seek to distort it, contain it, tame it, use it to maintain control. God needed a John in the wilderness. God needed to go bush. It isn't just that the wilderness isn't the city where governments, universities, media outlets, cathedrals, and other mainstays of the status quo reside. The wilderness is more than a geographical place. It is a state of being that is beyond the fringes of normal certainties. It is a place where we can see with different eyes, a place where the new and unimaginable can happen, a place where divine love might break through and change us. The wilderness is a mysterious place of transformation. Luke suggests if we want to hear God, the wilderness is the place to go, because by definition, it is a place beyond human control. The problem is when most of us think back on those times when we've been in the wilderness, we don't particularly think of it as a desirable vacation spot we wish to return to, precisely because it is a place where we are out of control. It is often a place of loss, a place of grief, a place of disappointment. It is where our lives have unexpectedly been turned upside down by a bad medical prognosis, a family death, a lost job, a broken relationship, to name but a few. Usually, we are thrust into wilderness spaces. But what Luke implies is that we should go there voluntarily as well. Social theorists have a term for the wilderness. They describe it as liminal. Liminal. The term was first coined to describe worship and rituals that are rites of passage. Baptism, confirmation, communion, and marriage are all liminal rites. A liminal place or time is where boundaries dissolve a little. And we stand there on the threshold, getting ourselves ready to move across the limits of what we were into what we are to be. It is the space where we are cut loose from the normal realities